Hello and welcome to this transmission. It is an absolute honor to be with you, be in your presence as I welcome you into the fullness and wholeness of my presence. This sharing is going to be twofold. The first part of it is going to be the path that has led me into this moment. And then secondly, the sharing around the last part of that path that has brought me into a shift into and clarity into the fullness of my service on this planet and beyond this planet, firstly, and secondly also the journey that has really helped me to ground gradually the knowingness of being a clear vessel, conduit, instrument, vehicle for the cosmic one body of creation. And just like you, I've been on a path through many lifetimes that has brought me into this physical current incarnation. And when I awoke this morning, I just received this message that there's a sharing that needs to take place. And in the same moment, I just saw this vision in front of me, and there were three phases that I noted. And the phases was awakening, ascension, and embodiment. And I realized, oh my goodness, that is the path that all of us have been walking and are continuing to walk every single moment as we integrate and fully embody our highest expression and reason for being on this beautiful ascended planet of our bodies, our homes, Gaia Sophia. And as I was looking at those three phases, I realized, oh my goodness, I never saw it so clearly. And I knew I will receive the guidance as to what needs to be shared. And maybe just, and why I'm sharing that is I want to provide some context, which I think is critical if there's a greater context provided for the direction that all of us are walking towards. There's just there's a, I don't know if you know, also like me, if I know there's where I'm going, there's a different energy in and potency to the walk that I'm walking. And something else that was shared, and I thought to myself, do I really want to do that? And Sophia just kept saying to me, you need to share that, because it demonstrates the different groundings that I've already taken, and all of us have taken, and together we are creating this knowing that strong foundations has been laid by all of us. And now we are realizing that it's time to take hands and give expression to those foundations. Because what does a foundation do? It provides a stability and a groundedness to a new path that is in front of us. And this new path that is in front of all of us is that we are in the process of co-creating new homes and communities, like it was always intended to be. And that is one of where individuals, families, homes, communities all know that they are completely aligned to and grounded in the organic creation in union, in full union and communion in each one of our individual ways with our Creator, with our Divine Mother, Father, with God, with Goddess, with Sophia, with the universe, with life, with nature, whatever name that resonates with you. A place where everyone feel welcomed home in the love and the compassion and the joy and the beauty of this boundless and bountiful and beautiful planet that we get to call home. And as we all start taking hands and together bring everyone into this experience of what the real truth of creation is, and the wholeness and fullness of that, so that each one of our brothers and sisters in whatever form and expression feel welcomed. Because I know that that is what I needed at some stage during my awakening process. I needed that during my ascension process. I needed that, and it was only during the last part of my embodiment process that I really started to feel that in physical form. And I would love for everyone to start feeling that in all three of those phases in physical form. And so together, all of that has led all of us into our crystalline one bodies. That is what we are currently present in and present to, is this unified I am presence that are often used during these times of transformation. And so I'm going to share this share in two phases. The first phase is just to briefly ground the path of awakening, ascension, and embodiment. And then the second part will be an introduction to the rest of this transmission, which is going to be in voice messages only. And I remember when I was shown this morning, I thought, oh, that's interesting. And it will become clear when I share with you why this is so interesting in a minute. I just find it so beautiful that there's a transformation also in the way that we share with each other, and I find that just so beautiful. Okay, so let's start at the beginning of the three phases that was shown to me this morning. And the first phase is awakening to the knowing that something is off, something is not quite right here. And I'm sure all of you can relate. It is, there's a knowing in you that you are, there's so much love and care and compassion in you, fully aware of that. Yet, when you look outside of you, everything feels so hard and harsh, and something is not quite right here. And we start awakening to that. And the mass awakening to that was probably in 20,000. And then I remember at that stage, everybody thought all the computers was going to stop working. It was such an amazing experience, but yes, something there already, and maybe on an unconscious level, but consciously, I think the real mass started to awaken in 2012. There was this big shift that has occurred on the planet, and I remember at that stage there was this uncomfortableness that I was starting to feel in the environment that I was in. It just became so strong. It felt like, it's almost like feeling this bruises and cuts are being, put onto my body, and I felt so deeply uncomfortable. Yet in the same moment, I just wanted to go and, heal that, be present to that. And that will probably be the reason why I started studying psychology at that stage. I wanted to make sense of what's happening. Why is this disconnection so big for me? And I'm sure you can relate to this, feeling like you walk in this wall as a stranger almost. And yeah, at that stage, it was just, I realize now that was just part of the awakening process that I was going through, but not aware that I was awake, just aware that there was this incongruence between what was happening within me and that was happening outside of me. And now I know that I was completely, by choice, separated from true creation and from our divine parents. And I chose it, as each one of our souls has chosen those paths for a very specific reason. And my specific path, and while I'm sharing this, just quickly go back to your path and notice the themes that comes up for you. And the themes that's real for me is there was this, I didn't identify with the identities that was given to me. It was, I'm a daughter, I'm an employer, I'm a sister, I'm a psychologist, I'm a coach, I'm a leadership transformation consultant. I never felt comfortable with all these, labels given to me. Always. I never felt comfortable. It was almost this, you know, oh, and I remember there was times when we in formal transformational sessions that you had to introduce yourself, and I said, I'm Surette, and I'm a soul here, having a soul's experience of what it means to be a human. And I remember the looks and the reactions that I got made me feel so uncomfortable. Yet it was true to what my experience was. And there was a lot of emotions that I started to become aware of. And I started, not only became aware of it, I started to see it in others. I realized I can see the energy fields of, the different layers of being uncomfortable or angry or fearful, whatever. And I could also see the energy fields of the environment and the climate in which I was present. And at that stage, therefore, I also, because of my studies in psychology, had the background of knowing that there's a awareness or a consciousness that we are aware of, and then below that is there's an unconscious aspect of our humanity, and then there's also a subconscious aspect to our being human. And in that framework, that really supported me to really understand and make sense of the experience that I was going through, and really supported me in my awakening process. And at some stage, I realized, I am starting to ascend into that drive that was always in me. And that drive for me is my my higher self. Didn't know there was a name for it at the time, but there was this drive in me that was always guiding me. And this driving force or driving energy, which I now know is my intuition, that was speaking to me, and the voice of that is my higher self, my oversoul, my creator. But I didn't know that at the time. And I think that's important when there's a conversation that's happening within us, to know that that conversation already was starting to be between becoming aware that there's a higher aspect within ourselves that is starting to have a conversation with us. And many people refer to it as being intuitive. So during the next phase of ascension, and all that means to me is I started to ascend the aspects of my becoming aware of awakening happening within me. And that ascension also happened on a very conscious and an unconscious and a subconscious level. And so the sharing that I just now said that I would love to share, that I felt a bit uncomfortable to do, but I'm going to do that, because what that demonstrates is the grounding that has happened for me, and what my nature instinctively does, and what that is to make notes of what I'm experiencing. That really helps me, and that's also one of the tools or practices that I used in the role that I played at that stage. The role that I played, you hear the language, was to observe and become aware of my behavior, so that I then therefore can start shifting that. And to do that, I needed to make a lot of notes, and to realize what the unconscious or the subconscious aspects are, and then how that has transformed. So I made notes. And I remember when the uncomfortableness became so much the path that I've walked, and all of our paths are different and is meant to be different. It's meant to be different, so that together all of us can have a felt experience of the full spectrum of having a human experience, first just a human experience, and then simultaneously also to have a full experience of having a divine experience. And that for me is what started to happen with ascension. With the awakening, it was only this awareness on a conscious and an unconscious level of the human aspect of Suret, and the chosen reality to show me the different aspects of what I needed to awake to, for the reason, so that I can start serving in including the integration of that as well. And so during the ascension phase, it feels almost like that for me happened up until from 2012 to 2020. That felt like an ascension phase to me. And during that period, what I've done is in my making notes, I realized the environment in which I am currently working is not serving me. I need to move out of this environment which feels like almost this entrapment, and my energy is being used and applied and taken from me in ways that started to feel very uncomfortable. I knew something was very off. And only now I know. I didn't know that at the time. Now there's a language that all of us are starting to use, which is really helpful, and I think very important, to create the context of what we were experiencing There was nothing wrong with any of us. It was not that we didn't have any value or worth or any of that. It was never about that, ever. That those words used was only as a result of the experience of being disconnected from the source of all of creation. And the words given to it these days is the whole planetary consciousness was in this matrix, this inorganic trapment and use of our life force energy. And we were completely unaware of that. I was really completely unaware of that. Now I'm wiser, now that I've walked through it. I know we chose to do that. We chose to do that, to awaken to the fullness of who we are as spiritual beings. But you don't just awaken and now you are a fully integrated soul. No, there's a path and a journey that has been walked. Yes. And so during that ascension process, so that is just ascending the consciousness of my unconscious and subconscious, for all of that to come to the surface so that all of that can be purified. And all of that happened during 2012 to 2020. And I know in human language, that sounds a lot of time, but it's not. Time is not real, as we know. It was just this gradual and graceful expanding of the wholeness as we were simultaneously transcending the different energy bodies of our being. And what I do know is that you cannot in one experience just move out of all of that into your ascended state. There's a stabilization that needs to happen and a regulation that needs to happen in our bodies to fully integrate our light bodies into our human bodies and for that merge to happen. There is a period of stabilization and integration that needs to occur. So just to then continue the share. So what I've done during that period, and this morning I quickly looked, when was this again? So this was in 2017. I just made a lot of notes while I just one morning woke up and I started I opened my computer on a blank screen, and I knew I had to put into words the unfolding that was happening within me, the different layers of the emotions and the thoughts and the correspondent beliefs that was anchoring that, and how to shift that and release that. And all of that is captured in this book, Leading with Light. And it says, opening to the beauty of your being through expanded awareness. So this was literally just to ground that experience into the reality. And really a catharsis for me to process everything that needed to be processed on a both on a conscious, unconscious, and a subconscious level. That has happened looking back on my awakening and my ascension, and that really supported me in doing so. And the reason for sharing that, what I was shown this morning, it is there. It is there to support others. That is awakening to the truth of living in a matrix. I needed support. I wish I had this book of a real experience of walking through the reality of that. And then after that, then I left the corporate world. I had to get out of that environment, and I really started to become aware of all the different energy modalities that was available, from acupuncture to energy healing, and all the whole spectrum of what that is, because it's also in my nature. If I want to share something, I want a fully integrated knowing of all that is available, so that and maybe that just comes from my teachings in coaching and counseling, etc., is that at specific stages and phases something else is needed. And in order for me to, just to provide that space, I need to know where you are on that, so that the right's not the word, so that the appropriate support can be given, which also now for me looks different, and I'll share now about that. But coming back to, so it was the awakening, the ascension, and as I moved out of the corporate world and really became aware on all three of those levels, on my conscious level, unconscious, and a subconscious level, all this, I started to awake to all this pictures that was appearing inside of my body, and conversations with with different aspects that I started to have, and I didn't know what that was, but I received this picture, and then I wrote that down, and that became another book. And this book I wrote in 2 years. This one I wrote in 2 weeks, because now the shifts became so accelerated that I could really capture that. And this morning I thought, oh, I forgot about what the content of this is, and I just read the first part, and I would love to share that because it's still true today. And this is also, by the way, the wholeness principle, discover your power at that stage. And the first, if I may, there are 4 things that I'm really passionate about. The one is to embody my growth and expansion, so that I can affect global systemic change through my authentic presence. The other is to share these teachings with others, so that they have greater awareness and choice to serve their evolution. Thirdly, I love to express myself creatively, colorfully, and freely, as it stimulates my senses and it gives outlet to my creativity and makes me feel happy, joyful, and in flow. All of this is still true. And lastly, I love the feeling of being authentically present and free to choose who and how I want to be in this world. And what I just quickly glanced through it this morning again, and I must say, much more creative, more colorful pictures and expressions. But what this is, it is really grounded, the practices that has supported me on my ascension path. So the first one was awakening, and then ascension. And this was this morning I saw this was the end of 2019. I wrote and published that. And then I started going into a next phase, which has really shifted everything that has happened before that moment into clarity like I've never had before, which I have now. But it started at the beginning of 2020. And I think that is a time also, and I know when those digits are expressed by anyone, everybody on this planet knows it was the period of lockdown. And as we were all given the opportunity to be in our homes and really do some introspection and really awake to the truth of who we are, firstly, and secondly, the truth of the environment in which we were walking. And as most were locked down in their homes, I was in lockdown in the hospital. And during that experience, I passed away. Yes, I died. My human body died. And I remember so clearly in one of the moments, I opened my eyes and it was pitch black dark. Everybody talks about they see the light. I saw complete darkness. And it was so dark and there was everything in me. Remember, when you're in ICU, you're under medication. So your human senses are, what's the word? It's dampened so that you don't feel anything. The intensity of the pain and the operation, and my operation was quite complex. And here I am, and it's pitch dark. I remember that so clearly. And in that darkness, I started seeing many things. And I was, in a moment, aware that I was in the subconscious of the human psyche. I was very aware of that, very aware of that. And while I was walking there, it felt like a walk that was taken. I simultaneously saw the energy that was in that moment around me in ICU. And many things were revealed to me inside of me and outside of me in that moment. And then only I saw this light and everything in me knew I have to continue to focus on that light. I have to. I know I need to come back into my, awareness. And then I just felt this gentle pull almost. And the light just became bigger and bigger and bigger. And I went through. And here I was in this presence of Sophia. And she took my hand and she said, look around you in the darkness and in the light simultaneously. And I did that. And I knew, okay, I now know why I am here. And from that moment forward, a whole path started to unfold that felt very different than the path that I walked up until that moment. So remember now, awakening already happened, ascension already happened, and I believe in that moment is when the embodiment started in a new way, in a conscious way, during a moment that I transformed and transcended the conscious, unconscious, and subconscious into a different kind of awareness. It's almost like those three melted and became one in the knowingness. Why I came here, why the path looked exactly how it looked like and felt like and experienced like and were experienced like, and that something is happening. I don't know at the time exactly what it was. Never knew in that moment then ICU, between the subconscious psyche and the highest experience of my whole light merging with Sophia. All of that was a second and a deep knowing this. There's a path that is deepening right now. I was very aware of that. It's a deepening that has happened for me. And and then the whole embodiment process started. At that moment, I also didn't know that I'm here to ground the sovereignty of creation in physical form, just as you are. I didn't know that, and I'm actually happy I didn't know, because I think my focus would have been different. So here I am, just in the moment, aware of what's happening in my body and that I'm not alone. I knew that Sophia is here. I didn't know that's her name at that stage. And there's a sharing that I've done around meeting Sophia, and that only came uh, 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 sometime after the hospitalization. And so I'm not going to share the fullness of the journey now. It is not about that. It is about there's a different phase that we need to be aware of, that really starts the embodiment in a new way. And during that time, there's a lot of experiences that I've been through, as the Jew, on your path. I'm just very aware that all of us must remember that all of our paths looks very different for a very specific reason. By the awareness of that, firstly, and secondly, by the sharing of that together, we are really grounding the fullness and the wholeness of the integration of our humanity and divinity, and the sovereignty of that as a foundation for all to build upon together. And hence, in the sharing of each one of our paths, there's almost this comfort in the knowing that yes, if I focus on my path, and each one of us and our paths together, we know that all that needs to be said, heard, shared as a way of serving in this world will be covered, because there's just this richness that is available to all others from this moment forward, that is awakening and then ascending into and then embodying the fullness of who they are too. And so during that first year, I was in bed for a good old 6-8 months, and really had it really gave me the opportunity to practice my presence, and being present simultaneously in all 74 trillions of my cells, and many things that then started to appear in my internal landscape, that now I know all of that was serving in becoming the fullness of my knowingness, of my I am presence, as are yours. There's a clarity that has happened, firstly, and then secondly, I had to really purify each and every cell of my body and all the places within the cell and around all of the cells. And I consciously did that. Consciously was shown on every day there was something else that I started to focus on, was shown to focus on. And that is what I suppose what everybody means by intuitive guidance, is this consistent guidance daily of what to do today, and some days it was being shown how the toric field of a cell looks like, and then seeing myself in the cell, and then not knowing what that is, and then starting to ask Sophia, what is this, and then starting to share. And I think that's really important to know that everything that you need to know through the service that you are here to provide to others is given in all those small little sharings that's starting to take place in after you've unified with God, Goddess, Sophia, the universe, the creation, creative, creator, your true nature, whatever language you want to use, it's perfectly fine. Whatever resonates. Just be clear, there's a unification that happens during the ascension process. And then in the embodiment process, it's this unified co-creation between me and Sophia that started to happen. Showing me this part, showing me this part, and showing where the conscious, the unconscious, and the subconscious fits into this toric field of this cell, and how the energy fields, you know, the old chakra system of our root, our sacral, our solar, our heart, our throat, our third eye, our crown, in each one of our cells, how that integrate with the conscious, the unconscious, the subconscious in each one of the cells, and how all of that becomes this full body interweaving that is starting to happen. And then I realized, oh, okay, there's a deepening in this co-creation, and it became this intimate conversation between Sophia and I when I realized that I'm starting to receive messages in a different way from her. When I did my sharing on meeting Sophia, there was this meeting that has taken place that only started a very intimate and profound journey of co-creation that she shared with me, and didn't know at the time. It was this gradual showing, which I think is a good thing, or else it will just be so overwhelming, you know. And then every now and then the the human ego wants to jump in and give a say in all of it. But there's this very intimate co-creation that starts, and the co-creation for me specifically was to show me the embodiment and the reason for the depths of the human psyche that I had to go and walk through, to see exactly how I then take this what she showed me in all of the cells and start fully experiencing that inside of me, and then going to those aspects of the subconscious psyche of humanity and start being fully present there as they arose. And now when I just share that, I now know that's probably what people refer to grit work and light work and working and all of that. I don't know. All I know is what my experience was and continue to be, is the being present in the inner landscape of my being, important, in the inner landscape of my being, in my full connection, emergence with Sophia, and now together co-creating and showing me the different aspects within me where her presence is therefore needed in each moment that appears in my soulscape for that transcendence and of that consciousness to occur. And the knowingness in the doing of that. So through doing so together, not only grounding her presence in that aspect, but also then grounding the light body of my being. And through doing so, that's how the embodiments start being grounded in you know, all the different cells in all of our bodies. And yes, so then during those initial stages, there was also a moment that she said to me, just make notes of what you are experiencing during this time, which I've done. And those notes is also what I'm meant to share right now. But I think I'm going to make a separate recording on that. It feels like this sharing is a little bit long right now. And I just want to, you know, keep the focus on this sharing right now because it feels important. So I'll do a different sharing. Just now I said I'm giving an introduction to that sharing, but I think this is, I'm going to stay with the flow of what's flowing through right now. And it was in that co-creation within me, that between me and Sophia, that I started realizing, oh, okay, this is truly what's going on within me, firstly. And secondly, I'm also then realizing or being shown that all of that is happening in the physical body of my beingness as the ground of the grounding of the sovereignty of creation. Whew. Just take that in for a moment. Whew. Yes, it is a deep cellular grounding of the sovereignty of the presence of Sophia within us that we are now in the process of being. And together, as we are all grounding the sovereignty of our presence, of our I am presence, together, the one crystalline cosmic one body is grounded through the presence of our beings. And all of us together are becoming this one cosmic body. And in the center of the one cosmic body is the earth of our bodies, in the center of each one of our cells. And around that is the galaxies of creation and of our presence, as well as the universes and multiverses. And together is this cosmos that is flowing through us and emanating out through us, through each and every single one of the 74 trillion cells. And it is emanating through each one of these. You know, if you look at your hand, there's pores. With each of those pores has got a little hair. And the pores, you know, over our whole body is emanating out the presence of Sophia and her cosmic one body is being grounded through us, and we're becoming the center of the cosmos, and we are grounding that through our presence. And therefore it is so important for all of us to remember that every word spoken and every moment of your presence, you are in the process of co-creating and co-weaving this cosmic one body into creation for each one of your cells, and emanating out to all the galaxies and universes of our beings the stability of the qualities of our presence, of our divine inheritance, and the divine inheritance or the divine qualities of our being, which is what the process of awakening was awakening to the uncomfortableness of our human experience. And then we ascended into the knowing that we are divinity having a human experience, and started to ascend into that knowingness of our true divine nature and our true connection to the source of all that is and all of creation, and the reason for us being here ascend into that, and then the embodiment of grounding and anchoring our highest ascended nature as the, first of all, for us to have that ascension embodied experience in human form, firstly, and then secondly, then that to become the service that we are here to offer to others. And what I, just coming back to what I shared earlier, so this first one, the service was in in book form, physical practices on the energies and thoughts and beliefs, and that was the anchoring initially. So this was in the awakening phase. In the ascension phase, it was practices, energetic practices to ground the awareness of being divine humans. And what makes this embodiment phase different is we are now the books almost walking around. So we are becoming the living transmission of the sharing of the consciousness that is flowing through us as a unified presence, as the vessels, instruments, conduits, of our Creator. And what's just coming to me in this moment is in each one of those phases, the grounding of it needs to look different. In the awakening phase, I remember when I started to wake, I wouldn't be able to understand what a living transmission is. Firstly, I wouldn't be able to understand it, and secondly, my body would not have been able to acclimate to the vibrational frequency of messages being transmitted, through us. And hence, I would have probably needed to have this book. And then after, in the ascension process, there's just a dedication of practices that needs to be followed as a new way of being in this world, and then practicing that daily. And then during this embodiment phase, I was just thinking, but yes, I am the library, and I was just reminded the other the other grounding that has happened. It might be important to share is that this house around me that I'm sitting in now is also built with my my ascended consciousness, and therefore the grounding in physical form. So not only is the the walking living transmission in a physical body form, but it's also grounded in a in a house form, and quite beautiful, I think, to know that I've got my most sacred, intimate house, that I'm walking in and around, the house that Sophia and I have co-created in the soulscape of my being. This I am present that's in my body is the one that I walk around with in this world, and allowing whatever emanation needs to be received by whoever I come into contact with, and whether person or animal or plant or mineral or the ocean or the mountain, or will be received. And then there's this physical structure that is the expression of this experience of my soulscape that came into the physical reality, and each aspect of this chosen through the journey that I've been on. And maybe, yeah, this is where it's taking me now. So what has brought this physical building into being is I've shared just now around out of hospital, and that whole period that I had to heal and ascend each cellular experience of my beingness through my, my presence in and through and with Sophia. And during that whole period, the one person that was with me 24 hours, making coffee, making food, serving me in the bed, was my beloved husband, who was just a witness to my whole awakening and ascension process, and me also during that period been receiving glimpses of him and the reason for his soul being in my life, because of that intimate healing and caring so compassionately for this physical form, and the importance of being witnessed in that way. And I can't remember the dates now specifically, but I was then, starting to feel strong in my body, and started to do, receive more guidance and streams of consciousness that was flowing through me. I started using my hands a lot and having a lot of conversations around me, and realized that I was also becoming a light weaver, which I will share at some different stage. And I was, really strengthening myself in all of that. And through all of that, my husband was a witness to all of that. Didn't in his human experience, didn't consciously know what he was a witness to, but now I know that on a very deep level, his soul was witnessing my soul's expansion. As I was noticing and being very aware of his as well. And that will also be a different share. The sovereign relationship of those in our lives. And then my husband passed away. And that really shifted me into a much deeper level that I could have ever thought possible to bear, on a human level, because that really just took me back to the rawness of relationship, and then losing the one relationship that was the most sacred to me, and has been a witness to all that I've been through, and him then passing away. And why I'm smiling is never at that time knew that is where a very different relationship with him started. In his ascended state, it is just so beautiful. I will really share that at some stage. But for the purpose of this very sharing, is that really has accelerated my expansion, and the service, therefore, of which I'm here to really ground into the fullness of my beingness, was where the masculine and feminine energies within me started to move forward in its sovereignty, in its weaving. And that was just such a profound shift for me, and has started a whole deepening in the path that I was on, that has brought me to moving from there where my consciousness was grounded in the house in which my husband and I was staying. I had to also then move all of my energy out of that with the grace of what it has served me, and then also taking all of our physical belongings, and the process that I've been through to clear the consciousness of all of that, and only choose a few things to move to where I am now. And then there was this whole process that I've been through, that I really had to walk through, very consciously, to move into the fullness of my sovereignty and the sovereignty of my presence, and then grounding that through that whole process. And while that was happening, simultaneously building a whole new home for me to be the house of my soul. as an expression of this unified presence that I've been over time gradually becoming more and more aware of, and now also having that around me to to emanate out to the community and to the rest of our continent, which brings me to the end of what I'm going to share here, is also the importance of knowing there where you choose to serve from as a full embodiment of your sovereign presence is exactly where that aspect of you are grounding our ascended Gaia Sophia into the body of her being and the body of our beings are merging and weaving the presence of Source, of Sophia, of our Creator, of the whole cosmos in that specific place, so that there's this groundedness, not only your presence and what's around you that's emanating out, but also this safe and sacred sanctuary for us to breathe in as we are now living on this ascended planetary body, which we are and are continuing to become together, as we continue to allow this flow of source consciousness that's flowing through us and weaving and breathing us all of the time to ground that. And yeah, it feels like a good place to end the sharing. And as I said, I will have a different share that I will do, that I will share the notes that I wanted to share in this moment that now never happened. and I know it because this needed to be shared first. And I will do that at a later moment. And I just want to allow you to take a moment to breathe with me. And just allow all that's been received, either through emanation or through the vibration of the words or the vibration of presence. Just allow all of that to settle. I'm sending you so much love and many, many blessings. And so it is.